It's really important, the point you made about different stakeholders needing to collaborate on these types of issues. And, since our former days at GRI together, thinking about the multi-stakeholder approach and having, those different types of stakeholders and influencers involved in the discussion around, what is a company's responsibility to the environment, to society, in terms of their own internal governance practices. This crisis really, puts a bright light on that piece as well. It also, in terms of thinking about this forward-looking mentality, it's encouraging to see that more and more in sort of the mainstream world, we're seeing this discussion around dynamic materiality or more dynamic approaches to materiality, a concept that was very much at the heart of why we built Datamaran 6 years ago, where we really were promoting this more dynamic approach to materiality. So it's encouraging to see if that company or that, institutions like the World Economic Forum, other companies, other academics are really starting to promote that concept too. It's catching on. But, I think as a concept, it makes sense, but practically it requires a bit of unpacking. So I wonder if you could speak a little bit to that. What is a dynamic approach to materiality? What does that actually entail, since that's very much at the heart of what Datamaran as a software does?
Yeah, no, I think when we started Datamaran, you were there, 2014, we were frustrated with, working in a field where these non-financial issues, these environmental, social governance issues were essentially disconnected from leadership, from corporate strategy, from risk management, from, let's say, all the mainstream business processes that exist in business. It was very much an exercise that was done on the side. A lot of times in environments where you meet many, many passionate people that get the topics, that are, committed to making their companies more sustainable, but didn't really have the means nor the connections internally to do that in a very serious way. So I think what we've seen in the past 5-6 years, since we started that, is changes in regulations that I think put a lot of additional spotlight on the importance of these issues. By the European Union, the taxonomy, the technical expert group, the EU non-financial reporting directive, initiatives like that. So the regulatory landscape really evolved around these issues fast, and the effect of that has been that it brought in different stakeholders, internal stakeholders, to the table that previously said, that's not me, that's our CSR team, that's our corporate citizenship stuff. So I think that's been accelerating somewhat, but still, frankly, a lot of companies, while taking it more seriously, were not really actioning it in a more significant or fundamental way. So if you think about, the purpose of your business, your license to operate, should you be there or not? Are you still an investable business? Are you a business that should be there in future, that does not destroy, value, but creates value in a positive way, in a future-proof way? I think that has, through this crisis, we are seeing that leadership is starting to think very differently there. I was talking earlier this week with Yannis Ioannou, professor at London Business School, has an online course on sustainability, and he said he's never experienced so many C-suite and board members to attend this course, because all of a sudden they realize these issues, whether it's COVID-19 now or climate risk, but it's all connected. These issues are connected. They're external to the company, but COVID-19 brings the message home that all of a sudden they might become very financially material and disrupt in a massive way. So I think there's the realization that one, you need data to build that awareness internally, understanding what these potential topics might be. So around COVID-19, what are the topics that we see connected there? That's of course ecosystems, biodiversity, pollution, climate change, social issues, your workforce, all connected. So that's very clear. So the need for that kind of information, but also the business processes that you need to have in place in terms of your governance. And maybe, and we're doing some research on that right now, maybe the companies that were most aware were able to act faster than those that were not aware of these kinds of risks. So those companies out there that are now really acting and that are helping and contributing to solving this crisis, were they somehow more prepared? Dynamic materiality, brings this idea home that this is no longer something you can do, an exercise you can do maybe once every 3 years, where you say, okay, let's bring in a consultant. We're gonna talk about the long list of ESG or sustainability topics. We're going to prioritize those for our sustainability report, and then we're going to report on that. That exercise, if that's still done in such a limited way, I don't think those companies are going to be fit for the future. And the future is now. We've been thrown into the future. But it's about really connecting these issues to core business processes, involving the C-suite, creating responsibilities at the board level, integrating these issues not just in a separate CSR report, but really integrating it into the annual report, allocating budget to it. Oftentimes what we've been hearing as well is, yeah, we don't have real budget to do this properly, and our team is small, so can we still work with you? we cannot spend money. And oftentimes we said yes, because we wanted to help the sustainability professional within these companies. But I think now what we will see, what we anticipate, is that this will become a leadership issue. And the fact that the World Economic Forum published this study on dynamic materiality, I think, is just a signpost of that. 5 years ago, sustainability was not yet a Davos World Economic Forum ready conversation. It wasn't there. But with these single issues coming to the forefront, loud and clear, it is. And I think that is exciting, because that means that real change is possible. If you can get the right people behind it with the the responsibility, the accountability, and the ability to make decisions, simultaneously the investor community, then real change is possible, and it can happen quite fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Companies are really, having to adapt faster. And I think to your point about sustainability professionals, really being in a critical position, especially right now in a time of crisis, is so evident in terms of, the companies that we work with. Majority of them are being asked to, be in the war room and be a key player in terms of their COVID-19 response. And, to your point, I think a key reason why is because, one, they're trained to deal with such complexity. ESG issues are complex in nature. They're completely interconnected. It's the scale is massive, right? If we think about climate change, how do you start to build a climate change strategy as a company? Because you can take so many different approaches. But also it's about having, an ability to focus on what needs to happen now in the short term, and then what needs to happen in the long term. To your point, what will the world look like post-crisis? And we need to already prepare for that world, because it's going to come, and the dust will settle, but things will undoubtedly look different. And, in terms of speed and needing to adapt, I think what we're seeing is that a lot of companies are really needing to fulfill their vision around digital transformation. It's a concept that we've been hearing a lot about in the past years as well. But I don't think companies really understood what digital transformation meant until the current crisis.
Yeah.
So in terms of, what we've seen at Datamaran, since Datamaran is a cloud-based platform, it's a digital platform, it's using analytics to pull data from a variety of publicly available sources. How are you seeing the companies that we work with using digital solutions to help them transform and be a more digitally enabled or digitally secure company?
Yeah. So thankfully, for our business and our employees, we've seen an uptick in interest in the tool, because the only way to do business right now is to do it digitally. And for those companies that want to work on their ESG risk management and materiality, benchmarking, all those related exercises, the way to do that, Datamaran enables that process in a digital way. So in that sense, we see that companies still want to continue the work, but need to do that in a different way than ever before. So that opens them up to looking for digital solutions more proactively, and having to understand what is possible in terms of digital transformation. Another part of that we're seeing at the moment is also this notion of speed. So all companies we talk to at the moment, they say, we have very little time, because we're all being called into meetings around COVID-19. We're all distracted right now. We're all trying to figure out how we can work from home. So the fact that you have technologies available that can speed the work up, not just do the work, but also do it faster, also helps at the time where people feel quite paralyzed because of a situation that is so new that they have to, almost like drop everything and focus on that. So this is also, I think, where we're seeing that our clients and new clients that we're getting at the moment appreciate this idea that they can still do a good job in terms of like their ESG risk analysis, not compromising the quality of that exercise, because that's really important, but do it in a very rapid way. And that's a massive benefit of technology, beyond the fact that it can happen in a digitally enabled environment.